Okay, here in Bereishit Perek Lamed Tet, we find Yosef in Egypt. I'd asked you in an assignment to pay attention here to how often God's name appears in these first few psukim, why it appears so many times, and then we read this essay by Rav Tzvi Shimon, which serves to explain the significance of God's name appearing so much. I want to talk about that briefly here. If we look in these first few psukim, we see very clearly that Hashem is with Yosef. That's Hashem's name once. Yosef is successful. His master sees Hashem is with him, and that Hashem makes him be matzliach, makes him succeed in whatever he does. That's 2 more times in that pasuk for a grand total of 3. And then again, we're told over here that Yosef found favor in his master's eyes. His master appointed Yosef over his house, and from that point on, Hashem blessed his master's home, and Hashem's blessing was in everything that this master owned, at home and out in the field. So 5 times then, we saw Hashem's name in this parak. And this is particularly striking because Hashem's name seems to have been absent earlier, right? So we mentioned here, how's God's role in the earlier stories of Yosef different than what we see over here? And the idea we tried to develop based on this essay by Rav Shimon is that Yosef earlier on, if you go back to Perek Lamed Zayin with the dreams, so he has things like these wild dreams about the stuff that's bowing down to him, first the grain, then the sun, moon, and stars, but it doesn't mention God there. And we would think God should have been mentioned there. If these dreams reflect what's going to happen in the future, then they're kind of like nevuah, they're kind of like prophecy. So you would think that God would be present there. And yet, God's not mentioned there, and Yosef comes across as kind of arrogant. Suddenly over here, Hashem is mentioned again and again, and if you notice, Yosef also seems to be less arrogant here. We'll talk a little more later about his looks, and whether his looks, the fact that he looks so attractive, had to do with him caring about his looks. But other than that, overall, Yosef's conduct here does not seem particularly arrogant. We're told how he's successful. Hashem makes him be successful. He never says, I on my own am successful, I earned it, I deserved it, I'm so awesome. And in fact, later, even when Potiphar's wife tries to seduce Yosef, Yosef refuses, and he says, look, I can't do this. You know why I can't do this? I can't do this because it would be so wrong for me to sleep with you, sleep with Potiphar's wife. It would be a sin against God. So we see that Yosef seems much more humble here, and he's aware of his relationship with God, that he can't commit certain sins because God would be disappointed in him. And this is going to continue as we go on to stories we haven't done yet, with Yosef in jail, when he has to interpret the dreams of the butler, the Sar HaMashkim, and the baker, the Sar HaOfim. The way Yosef explains that is, Halod Elokim Pitronim. God has solutions or interpretations. God knows the meaning of your dreams, and therefore you can tell me. In other words, Yosef's not saying, I'm a genius, I know what your dreams mean. He's saying, Hashem helps me interpret them. So too when Yosef appears before Paro in Perek Mem Aleph, Paro's going to summon Yosef in and say, Ani shamati alecha lemor tishma chalom liftor oto. I heard about you, Yosef, that you know how to interpret dreams. And Yosef says back to him, no, I don't really know how to interpret dreams. Biladai. It's sort of beyond me. It's not because of me. Rather, Elokim yanet shalom paro. God is going to answer you through me. Right? He doesn't even say me there. He just says, God is going to answer you, which means God's going to help Yosef interpret them. But Yosef is attributing his success to Hashem. So, putting 2 and 2 together, we see that earlier, in Yosef's dreams, back here, when he has these dreams of his own, which he should be attributing to God, he seems instead to just present them as his own dreams, and to come across as very arrogant towards his brothers, telling them how they're going to bow down to him. But in the later stories, when he's in Mitzrayim, he is much more aware of God, right? He can't sin before God by sleeping with Esha Potiphar. He tells Paro's officers and later Paro that Hashem is helping him interpret their dreams. And so it seems that Yosef's character goes through a certain development here where he's become humbled, perhaps because of his experiences until now, because his arrogance alienated and antagonized his brothers and got them to hate him so much that they sold him. Therefore, Yosef now finds himself realizing that was the wrong approach, and he has to be more humble, more subservient to God, focus more on God and less on himself. And therefore, if we return to our original question, in order to reflect the fact that Yosef is now more humbled, more willing to submit to the will of God and attribute his successes to God, therefore, Hashem's name appears 5 times here to say that with this new, more pious, more humble Yosef, Hashem responded to that by actively guiding Yosef to success. Vahi Hashem et Yosef, Hashem ito, kol asher hu oseh Hashem matzliach biyado, vayevarach Hashem et Beit HaMitzri biglal Yosef, vahi berkat Hashem b'chol asher yesh lo b'bayit u'basadeh. We see in all of these that Hashem is responding to Yosef. Hashem is saying that since Yosef is now more humble and carrying himself in a way which is appropriate, and he attributes his success to Hashem, therefore Hashem rewards him by actively involving himself in Yosef's life and seeing to it that Yosef is successful.